Hey Rush fans, welcome to episode 79 of Rush Roundtable. We're doing a discussion based on some Rush shows that we unfortunately didn't get the chance to see live. We're going to pick two shows, one before our lifetime and one after our lifetime. We have a very great cast of some younger Rush fans today, so we hope you enjoy this episode.
This episode of Rush Roundtable is sponsored by Frameworth Sports. Frameworth Sports is North America's leader in framed sports and music memorabilia. They carry a wide variety of officially licensed framed Rush albums and collages, and can even accommodate custom requests. Check them out at frameworth.com and use code RUSHFANS for 25% off your order.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 79 of Rush Roundtable. This is a discussion of set lists that we wish we could have seen live. So today we got a bit of a younger crowd. We got a couple of fan favorites with us. But we all share one thing in common, and that's we've never seen Rush live before. Whether it just be because of when we were born or just we didn't become a fan in time, we've never been able to see Rush live. So what this episode's going to be is we've each picked, we all picked two tours, one before we were born and one after we were born that we wish we could have seen. So with us, we have a new person joining us today. Matthew, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a brief little introduction?
Sure. So my name is Matthew Miranda. I'm a video blog on Instagram, and I'm actually from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. What else? Yes, I did list the stuff here that was on the group chat. But so I discovered I started to become a fan, and actually, who else is from Canada here?
Tristan.
I saw Tristan wave. Where are you from?
Toronto.
Okay, cool. I'm from Scarborough. Where are you from?
Yeah. Vaughan.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I believe, so my next step is to tell on how I started. When did I start to be a fan, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Writer? Okay, cool. So it was May of 2020. It's funny how it started. Like, okay, from my memory, like ever since I was born, I don't know if you remembered Rock Band Unplugged on the PSP. It was the truth. And then I don't know, I just sensed something like I was just playing that song, but I wasn't a fan yet, but I knew them, right? And then the next one here, just make it brief and detailed. So I play the drums, right? So there's a talent show. I'm like, what are the best drum songs to play, right? So YYZ, right? So I didn't know. I was like, YYZ, hold on, isn't that our airport? So okay, so I still wasn't a fan. It was just in the side, right? Yeah. And then after that, on May 2020, so the Rock Band was like 2009. For the drums, for YYZ, though, like 2019. I still wasn't a fan. I knew them. Now on May 2020, I don't know if you know Mayor John Tory, right? So his crew made a playlist. It's called keep a distance something. I forgot. I didn't list it here, but he had a playlist on Spotify. YYZ was there. I was like, hold on. So let me dig in more into this album. I just fell into it. After doing all my projects, I was like, what am I going to do after doing my music projects? And then I just fell with the band. It just happened. So it just happened.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then now I'm a fan. Lots to say.
Great. Yeah, me and you, we have some common blood. My first exposure to Rush was through Rock Band 4 on Xbox. Yeah. So anyways, let's get this topic started off. So we're going to have Goji kick it off with a Rush show that he wished he could have seen before he was born. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what year you were born in and then what that set list was.
All right. So I was born, first of all, I was born late 2002. So, wouldn't have gotten a chance to see them till probably, I don't know. If there was a tour between Snakes, Vapor Trails and R30, I would have seen them in there, but I couldn't. But first set list I chose, Show of Hands. Set list being the weird carnival intro. And also, this is an average thing. Most of us are probably going to be averaging them. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there for everybody. But carnival intro, Big Money, Marathon, Turn the Page, Prime Mover, Manhattan Project, Closer to the Heart, Red Sector A, Force 10, Lock and Key, Mission, Territories, YYZ or Z, Rhythm, the Rhythm Method, the Neil's drum solo, Spirit of Radio, Tom Sawyer, 2112, Overture, The Temple of Syrinx, The Via Strangiato, In the Mood. This was the first, my first real exposure to seeing footage of them live. This entire, the entire Show of Hands video is on YouTube. You can watch it. It's still up. Somehow bypassing copyright laws. I don't know. But it's there and it was unblocked and I could watch it at school. I probably shouldn't have been doing that, but I did. And it's a whole list of my favorites. 80s Rush is my heart's end. I love Power Windows is my favorite album. Hold Your Fire is up there on the top 10. Same with, Grace Under Pressure and Moving Pictures and all that. So this whole album is incredible. And then you dipping into the early 70s with, In the Mood. I like.
Yeah.
I like that song. And then also Close to the Heart, coming from my second favorite Rush album. So, it's a great show. And they all looked like they were having fun. They were at the, I think, top of the game. Geddy playing the wall bass.
Mm-hmm.
Just great. Neil's drum solo and rhythm method was one of the first real times where I was like, this guy's unbeatable. This guy, you'll never beat Neil Peart at drumming. So that's my first Show of Hands.
Yeah, Show of Hands is really an awesome set. I would highly recommend anybody check out the link on YouTube. Also look it up. I know the one on YouTube is the VHS version. Look up the Laserdisc version because Lock and Key is also on that one. It was exclusive to the Laserdisc format. So anyways, for mine, I was also born in late 2002, born in December. The set list that I chose was the Test for Echo tour. So the set list, the basically average set list was a Dreamline, either The Big Money or Limelight, Stick It Out, Driven, Half the World, Red Barchetta, Animate, Limbo, The Trees, Free Will, Red Sector A, Virtuality, Nobody's Hero, Closer to the Heart, all of 2112, parts 1 through 7, Test for Echo, Subdivisions, Roll the Bones, Resist, Leave That Thing Alone with the Rhythm Method, Natural Science, Force 10, Time and Motion, The Spirit of Radio, Tom Sawyer, and then the encore was YYZ with a little teaser of Cygnus X1. So the Test for Echo tour, obviously, for anyone who's watched any of the Rush Roundtables or know me, I'm a big Test for Echo guy. So I really like this. I love this set list for the amount of love Test for Echo got. Obviously, it's the one that supported it. But there's just so many great cuts on this. All the different deep tracks. Red Barchetta's in there. Not a deep track, but, you can't go wrong with Red Barchetta. The Trees, Closer to the Heart, it got a really cool, extended little bit at the end. You can hear it on different stages. Nobody's Hero. Red Sector A is awesome on this tour. And then, not to friggin' mention, all of 2112. That's Test for Echo tour was the only time they've done every part of it. They would always either skip Oracle or they'd really abbreviate Discovery. This was the only time that they've ever done 2112 in its entirety. It is, I know people they're kind of sticky on it because they tuned it down 2 steps, but whatever. It's all of 2112. That's so boss. That was also the tour where Geddy, there was obviously counterparts, but Test for Echo is where I think he really found his tone with the jazz bass. It was starting to really shape out because at first it was really, there was a lot of distortion in it live and it was kind of muddy a bit on the Counterparts tour. But Test for Echo, it had a really good bass tone. And what was it? So and then there's actually a whole Test for Echo live DVD that was shot. It was never released until the R40 collector's box set. I think that was exclusive to Best Buy or something. Someone's uploaded it to YouTube. But you can there's a whole live album that they just never released. And it's different from different stages, the CD release, because that was a hodgepodge of a bunch of shows. This is all one thing from the Molson Amphitheater. But yeah, so my set list would have to be Test for Echo. Great mix of deep tracks, some great, obviously amazing hits, and then all of 2112. You cannot go wrong with that. So Matthew, why don't you go ahead, give your birth year and then what show you would have seen in its set list.
Sure. So 1997. For before I was born, if I was to go back in time, I would choose. It was a really tough one, the Presto tour. So so the set list is Force 10, Free Will, Distant Early Warning, Time Stand Still, Subdivisions, Marathon, Red Barchetta, Superconductor, Show Don't Tell, proceeded with the bracket Superconductor until February 22nd, 1990. The Pass, Closer to the Heart, Manhattan Project, Xanadu, YYZ, The Rhythm Method, Drum Solo, Scars, Warpaint, Mission, and Tom Sawyer. And then there's this encore, Big Money, replaced by Spirit of Radio, 1990 of April 2nd, 2112 Overture, with a bracket again, La Villa Strangiato, and two more. So it's the In the Mood and Wipeout. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. I was actually really debating doing a Presto tour. I was stuck between T4E and Presto, just because what is it, like Scars and Superconductor. So what are the main reasons that you picked Presto?
It's a tough one. I don't know. I think the blend, when it comes to like their prime, it's kind of like they've aged. They're sort of like let's say 60% of their career ish, right?
Yeah.
So it has that like, even the style and everything, it has that like when was that? That was the 90s, right? So it has
Presto Tour is 89, 90.
Yeah, 89, 90. There we go. So it has that flavor. It's really hard to explain. It's kind of like a mix of like, let's say, if you combine all the albums from, the 80s and then the 90s, and it's kind of like in between, to be honest with you. Maybe, even with Test for Echo, it's really hard to like, for me, it's the prime, it's like the prime, the middle part of their, it's just, there's something about the theme, you know what I mean? It's like magic.
For sure. I think this has a really, really interesting set list because there's underrated on that 80s, 90s area.
Yeah.
So, all right, Junior, what set list would you have seen before?
Probably Hold Your Fire Tour. Just like I think Gojira said, like Show of Hands and stuff like that. Because a Show of Hands was one of the first after like Time Machine that I watched, and it was just fascinating. I love Geddy's wall bass. I just love the like mix of electric drums, and I think it has the best set list because it's like it's got a lot of Power Windows and Hold Your Fire in it, which are like the most melodic albums. Like Geddy's vocals are so strong in those two that they like, and having both a lot of songs from both of them, it's just really like special. And even having like a lot of hits from before then, it's just really, really good. The Big Money, Subdivisions, Limelight, Marathon, Turn the Page, Prime Mover, Manhattan Project, Closer to the Heart, Red Sector A, Force 10, Time Stand Still, Distant Early Warning, Lock and Key, Mission, Territories, YYZ, the Rhythm Method, Red Lenses, The Spirit of Radio, and Tom Sawyer. And then for the encore, you have 2112, which is nice. It might not be all 7 parts, but it's still like the 2 most popular, and it's pretty good. And then you got Level Stringiato, I don't know how to pronounce that, and In the Mood, which is, I think, like the money set list.
Yeah, for sure. I wish that the whole Show of Hands was put on streaming services, not just the CD that ended up coming out. I wish that whole set list was on there. All right, and then
I also like to see Geddy with his raccoon hat live, just like rocking it out. That would be really fun.
Classic. All right, so closing out the ones before our lifetime, let's hear what Tristan has to say.
All right, so if I were to go see a tour before I was born, and I was born like Ryder and Goji, I was born in 2002. I was born in May. And if I were to go see a tour, it would be the Grace Under Pressure tour.
Yeah.
And the average set list from that period is the Grace Under Pressure intro, which was sort of like what's the name of the Three Stooges?
Yeah, the Three Stooges.
They kind of took that from that. Yeah. And that's awesome. I always enjoy that. So I never skip that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. And then the first proper song is Spirit of Radio. And you have The Enemy Within, The Weapon, which one? New World Man, Distant Early Warning, Red Sector A, Closer to the Heart, a medley of YYZ, Temple Hearing, and Tom Sawyer, Vital Signs.
Yeah, that whole set list is really, really cool. So is the set list really what you going after? That kind of mix of like that 80s rush, but then dipping back into the earlier?
Absolutely. They reached a maturity in their career at that point. For me personally, I personally enjoy a lot of keyboards and something in my music, as well with the heavy guitar stuff. So that was like a perfect blend of that. And they also filmed the Grace Under Pressure at Maple Gardens here in Toronto. So that would have been the one that I would have gone to see. And I watched that video so often. My favorites from that are not favorites because you can't pick a favorite, but the ones that really stand out to me are songs like The Weapon, Alex's solo from The Weapon live is unbelievable, and just the energy that they had. They were, youth was on their side. They played their hearts out, and Alex's infectious smile is all over the place. So that would have been a really great tour to see. And like Junior was saying about the mix of acoustic and electronic drum, it was perfect. Everything was perfect at that point. And not to mention the new wave fashion. I thought that was pretty cool.
For sure.
So that would have been a really great time for me.
Yeah. I've actually been listening to that live album a lot more recently. I know we aren't doing songs we're currently hooked on anymore, but I would definitely everyone recommend check out the version of Vital Signs from there. That Vital Signs version's super good, and The Weapon. That version of The Weapon's probably my favorite. All right, so now switching it up, we're gonna go to some shows that were after not after, rather during our lifetime. So Goji, why don't you go ahead and kick off our part 2?
All right. So for mine, I have a visual aid because I have the, well, it speaks for itself, I think. Time Machine, I'll say a little more about it. I'll just read through the set list, and then I have a thing to say, which I may be speaking for everybody, but you guys can chime in if you want later. But Spirit of Radio, Time Stand Still, Presto, Stick It Out, Workin' Them Angels, Leave That Thing Alone, Faithless, BU2B, Free Will, Marathon, Subdivisions, All of Moving Pictures, Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetto, YYZ or Z, Limelight, Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, Vital Signs, Caravan, Moto Perpetuo, yeah, I'm going to guess on that. O'Malley's Break, Closer to the Heart, 2112 Overture and Syrinx, Temple of Syrinx, Far Cry, The Via Strangiato, and Working Man for the encore. The thing I like about this is that it introduced me to a lot of songs. I first heard this when I was at that point where I liked Rush, but I didn't have the kind of mind I have now where I'm just like, oh yeah, that's from, Presto, and that's from Roll the Bones. So it was like I heard, B2B, Caravan, Far Cry, Faithless, my favorite song on Snakes and Arrows, Working Them Angels, Leave That Thing Alone. I heard them all first here. And so that I prefer these versions, kind of the album version. But something that I think is so interesting about this is that, there were people who were there who were like, oh yeah, I've heard these millions of times outside of BU2B because I think it was brand new.
Yeah.
Same with Caravan, or the singles had just come out, but this is the Cleveland show, hence live album. So the set list may change. But one thing about us, we never got that experience of, more than likely, we never got that experience of hearing a new Rush song.
Mhm.
For us, Rush is past tense, basically. You know, we can kind of look at it new, but this album, you know, like we can kind of look at everything with a new, fresh of eyes, but everything is from a long time ago at this point, or at least within the past 10 years. Um, but this album is interesting for me because I watched the footage, which the entire concert is also all on YouTube, somehow still avoiding copyright. I don't know how, but I'm not complaining. This album is a way for me to look at, for me to see Getty, Neil, and Alex having fun, doing what they love in a time when I can think back to what I was doing in 2012. You know, I was in what, fourth grade,
Yeah.
and there they are playing like it's their favorite thing to do, which it probably was. And outside of the set list being amazing,
Yeah.
just get out of the way. That's an amazing set list, and the set design's incredible, and the films, which don't get talked about enough. I think the all the gefilter stuff,
Yeah.
but I think that's just the great thing about Time Machine. It is a time machine for people like us who never got to see them, who get to go and see what it would have been like, especially the DVD that's on YouTube. So vivid. You really get a sense that you're there. Just put some headphones on. Just give yourself to it. You'll find yourself grinning and being so disappointed that it was just an echo of what was, basically.
Mm. Yeah, that's better than I could have ever said it, which, you know, my show was Time Machine in Cleveland. You know, my visual aid isn't as impressive as Goji. There is a copy of that at my local record store, but it's been staring at me with its $100 price tag, and I'm just waiting to pull the trigger. But
Yeah, that was a birthday gift, so I can't say how much it cost.
This will probably be graduation money, you know, whatever. I'll buy it
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
But you know, Goji already read the set list, so I'm not gonna read it again. But like this live album right here, it recorded basically in my hometown. I'm 30 minutes south of Cleveland. If I could have seen this would have been the one show I could have seen in my lifetime. And just this was the show that really, it was the one that made me a true Rush fan. Because like before I watched the DVD on YouTube, because that was where I first saw it, it was, Rush was just a cool band for me. But I was starting to play bass around that time, you know, whatever. But when I saw Leave That Thing Alone on this DVD, holy crap. Like, you can't watch that song and see Geddy Lee playing that solo at the end and not being like, holy crap. Like, he's sitting there just doing with the crazy bass on. That song, that set list was the reason I play a jazz bass. That show was the thing that made me understand that Rush is, like, they're unbeatable. Like, there's barely anybody that can match to that level. Time Machine was just incredible. Alex Lifeson solo on Working Man, boom. How they were able to like come out of the bridge on Free Will, like that's insane. These guys were crazy. They're not like, they're getting old at that point and they're still able to do that. Geddy was able to hit those high notes. And then all of Moving Pictures. You cannot go wrong with Time Machine. You absolutely cannot. So
I think if I may interject very quickly,
go for it.
Working Man on Time Machine was the song that also made me a bass player, and it's the reason I play a jazz bass, which you can't see, but it's right there. So I feel you there, man. Feel you right there.
Time Machine is unbeatable for me. It's without a question. That would have been the show I would have seen live if I could have seen them. So Matthew, why don't you go ahead and give us yours?
So it was a tough one. It was a really tough one. So from my perspective, it's more of like, what would I see if I was to go back in time? So if I think about it, it's kind of like, what would be the most important the most historic and what would be the most iconic, right? It's a really tough thing, but in my perspective, I had to go with R40. The reason is because it's the last straw. You know what I mean? So I did remember seeing back in 2015, I had a memory of going to Air Canada Center. It's called Scotiabank Arena now. I saw the billboard on the digital screen, and then it said Rush. I'm like, familiar band, but like I was in high school, right? So I wasn't like into it yet. But anyways, that's the last memory I had like with the R40 tour. But R40 tour, I guess I will say the set list. And by the way, there's two days. I'll just say the one for day one, the one in Toronto. So it's on the Anarchist, Clockwork Angels, Headlong Flight, Far Cry, The Main Monkey Business, One Little Victory, Animate, Roll the Bones, Distant Early Warning, Subdivisions, and then they took their break because they're 1,000 years old. So then set two was Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, the Spirit of the Radio, Jacob's Ladder, Cygnus X1 Book 2, Hemispheres Prelude, Cygnus X1 Book 1, The Voyage Part 1, Drum Solo, Cygnus X1 Book 1, The Voyage Part 3, Closer to the Heart, Xanadu, 2112 Overture, The Temple of Syrinx, Presentation, and Grand Finale. Then Encore, Lakeside Park, Anthem, What You're Doing, and Working Man. And then, yeah, so it's a tough thing, but it's kind of like if I had a chance to see the last show in the city, basically, it's something that, I wouldn't regret. But, now we do, but now we're fans. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that's everything that I have to say. It's their last. They survived that long, and then they, it's kind of like a graduation. Let's say it just came out of my mind right now. Sure. I think that's what it feels like. Time Machine's good too. Clockwork Angels is good too. It's very hard, but I gotta go with the graduation part.
Yeah, for sure. I was battling a little bit, like maybe do the last show on R40, maybe do Clockwork Angels, but R40 is really an incredible set list. I know there's a bit of debate on how the set list should have gone, but I really think that was probably the best way they could have closed out their career. So, Junior, why don't you go ahead and give yours?
Mine was also R40. I like the way of the set list. It goes like backwards in time. I think that's really cool because they like start with, it's got every album on there. It's nice. Yeti's voice sounds, I would say, better than what it was in Clockwork Angel store because I think he like changed his diet. I'm pretty sure he like switched not eating dairy and among other factors. And yeah, like what Matthew said about it being like the last thing, being the graduation and being like the last, I would love to be there on their last show in like Los Angeles and just like, and see the garden as the outro. That would be really cool. And I just, to be there on their final tour, their final show, that would just be really, really amazing.
And their meet and greet.
What?
And their meet and greet. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Here, and the set list. Let me pull it up. Yeah, so the Anarchists, Clockwork Angels, Headlong Flight, Far Cry, The Main Monkey Business, One Little Victory, Animate, Roll the Bones, Distant Early Warning, Subdivisions, Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, Spirit of Radio, Jacob's Ladder, Hemispheres Part 1, Cygnus X1, I think The Voyage, and then Closer to the Heart, Xanadu, and then Part 1, Part 2, Part 4, and Part 7 of 2112. And then the Lakeside Park, Anthem, What You're Doing, and Working Man outro, encore. It's really good.
Yeah, R40 is awesome. I don't know if it says it on Setlist FM or whatever you guys use, but if you stick around and like if you're listening to R40 and you stick around after Working Man, they actually play a little snippet of Garden Road, which is they never released that song on any album, but that's a classic. I know there's a couple of live rips of like the whole song on YouTube, or I know it's on Amazon Music too. But yeah, check that one out. It's a really, really cool. I never thought they would ever do that, like go back to a song they never released. But Yeah, that was a really cool way to close it out. So now Tristan, closing out everything, what's your set list?
All right. Before I start, I just wanted to mention something really profound that Goji said when he was talking about how everything for us is kind of like in the past, where everyone else before us got to live through everything or other things. And that rings so true for me personally. My experience with Clockwork Angels, that was the year that it came out, we were 10. And I remember having the CD at home, and that was the only thing that was new to me at that time. There was nothing else that would be new. There was nothing else except for the Clockwork Angels tour that I could be excited about. That was new material, and that was kind of a sad state for me, because I just got into this band not long before, and knowing that probably would have been their last album was kind of sad, because like there's nothing else to look forward to. But anyway, that was a really good point. But going back to my live album that I would have liked to see, I would have liked to see Snakes and Arrows. And I'll just go through the track listing for that. It's, Limelight, Digital Man, Ingenue, Mission, Free Will, The Main Monkey Business, The Larger Goal, Secret Touch, Circumstances, Between the Wheels, Dreamline, Far Cry, Working the Angels, Armor and Sword, Spindrift, The Way the Wind Blows, Subdivisions, Natural Science, Witch Hunt, Malignant Narcissism, augmented by a drum solo called Die Schlagwerker. I think it's German. Hope, Distant Early Warning, Spirit of Radio, Tom Sawyer, One Little Victory, A Passage to Bangkok, and Why That. And I would have liked to go see that tour because we were talking about this a lot in the admin chat. There's been a lot of discussion about Snakes and Arrows, and I have to agree. That album is very special, apart from it being their third breakout record. I think there really is something ingenious about that album that it's really difficult to explain, but they kind of reached that peak in terms of songwriting. Neil's lyrics are genius as always, and just the whole concept of kind of religion and faith was a really cool thing for me. To see that tour, I would have been 5. I would have been in kindergarten, so my ears couldn't have handled it back then. But looking back, knowing what I know now about music and going through their discography, I would have loved to see that tour.
Yeah, I would have loved to seen Snakes and Arrows. That album's just awesome. Like I know a lot of people have been having a bit of a revelation that like Snakes and Arrows is like an underappreciated album. Like what is it? If anyone has watched our Stick It Out series, for the first episode, Ryan got Armor and Sword, and he was like, at first I hated the song, but now it's like a top 10 Rush song for me. And that's what it is. It's literally like, what was it? We did the top 10 favorite Rush songs episode with Something for Nothing podcast. Armor and Sword's my 3rd favorite Rush song. Honestly, if I could redo that list, it's probably number 2. It's Snakes and Arrows is super awesome. The set list too is awesome. Just such a great album and such a great supporting tour. But yeah, that's everything that we have for this episode. But that doesn't mean our discussion has to stop. Go ahead and leave a comment. What Rush shows would you have seen before your lifetime and after your lifetime, and why would you have liked to seen them? While you're also down there, you can go ahead and like the video, share it around, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you can get notifications on Rush Roundtable and some of our other shows too, like Stick It Out and Rush Deep Dive with Donna Halper. And also while you're at it, go ahead and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Rush Fans. It's where we have a bulk of our posting content, photos of the band, videos, all sorts of other stuff. But that's all I have for this episode, closing out 79 of Rush Roundtable. Thank you for watching, everybody.
See you next time.